Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Siana deck profile for post-Lyrical Monasterio Trick or Trick. This is one of the 3 new decks that we got from the latest Lyrical Monasterio booster set. The Siana deck focuses on being able to utilize additional card abilities based on how many open rear guards they are on the rear guard, whether it be our own or our opponent's open rear guards and guard circle as well, and then also make use of other rear guards to bounce our own to gain additional card effects using the high pressured Vanguard, Gorgon Eyes Siana, or the girl with the trick or treat bag over her head. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profiles. We'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck. Our starter is all warmed up Siana when rode upon. If you went second, draw a card. The standard starter when going second. The grade 1 is Second Snake's Opinion, Siana. On the Vanguard, at the end of the battle, this unit was attacked by a rear guard. If no cards are put on the guard circle of this battle, your opponent chooses a card from their hand, and they may discard it. If they did not discard a card, bind the rear guard that was attacked. So with this card, after the option of when this unit was attacked by a rear guard, you can take care of that rear guard as long as you don't no-guard it, taking the additional damage. And also when it's rode upon by a grade 2 card with Siana in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1, draw a card, return all of your opponent's front row rear guards to their hand, giving you additional setup for our main grade 3, but our grade 2 also has setup. At the end of the battle, is attacked by a rear guard. If no cards are put on the guard circle of that battle, choose a card from your opponent's hand, and they may discard it. If they did not, bind a rear guard. And when this unit is rode on by a grade 3 card with Siana and its card name, choose a trigger unit or a Blitz order from your drop zone and put it into your hand. So we do run a good number of Blitz orders in the deck to make use of with this card, being able to have more search power for the trigger unit, even for more defense, makes up for some of the other no guard attacks we would have went to for this card. With our grade 3 being Gorgon Eyes Siana as well, matching all of the other, Halloween trick-or-treat bag persona that she's doing in all the other posts. Since this is the main grade 3 unit that we run in the deck, we want to run 3 additional copies as well. Sadly, only have the additional 2. So I have 2 Starry Witchcraft Roseanne just as placeholders. I wasn't planning on finishing the Siana deck. Wanted to focus more on Prism and also the powerful deck, but still wanted to get a Siana deck profile out there since it's definitely the most memeable of the decks from the newest set. For the Vanguard, if your opponent's guard circle and front row rear guards have a total of 2 or less units, this card gets critical +1 and drive +1. So it makes it so your opponent, pretty much wants to guard this card since you have other cards to bounce your opponent's cards. And when this unit is attacked, put a trigger unit from your hand to the soul. It gets +15,000 till the end of that battle, giving you options to use some of your other triggers, including your draw triggers, for hitting additional guard power. Just putting them into the soul from the hand to gain +15 instead of the potential 10k that our draw triggers, the Baratois, would have normally done. Or you could just use any other trigger, gaining the same guard, but still building up your soul. And at the end of the battle, this unit was attacked by a rear guard. If no cards are put on the guard circle of that battle, your opponent chooses a card from their hand. They may discard it. If they did not discard a card, bind the rear guard that attacked, having the same card abilities as the grade 1 and 2 versions of Siana. For the other grade 3s that we run in the deck, 4 copies of Like a Utopia Nortrue. With this card on rear guard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Siana in its card name, Soul Blast 1, return all of your opponent's front row rear guards to the hand, and this unit gets +5,000 power till end of battle. So this just helps to set up Siana for the no rear guards on your opponent's front row, so a definite 4 of having the +5k power on its own, but just with the Soul Blast, which you can easily keep consistently going with the guard power of Siana, putting triggers into her soul. For the grade 2s, I want to run 4 copies of Jacko Parade Theratheus, but only had the 2. Sadly, I have the 2 Rattling Good Time Fiami as placeholders. When this unit is placed on rear, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and return it to hand. So just when placed, so you don't have to use a Soul Blast like you would for Neutre. And on rear guard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Siana its card name, counter +1, it gets +5,000 till end of battle. For each of your opponent's open front row rear guards, it gets +10,000 or greater, and then draw a card. So draw power on top of an additional power increase that you can use just for a counterblast, because you're not really using counterblasts for much else, since you just have easy setup with no soul blasting or counterblasting thanks to Siana. And then the other grade 2, which I cannot believe that I only pulled 1 from all of my packs, and that is Rafish Runner Juno. On rear guard, once per turn, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Siana in its card name, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, return to the hand. If you Soul Blast a trigger unit for this cost, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets plus 10,000 to end of turn. So an additional power boost thanks to this card to your Vanguard. I have the to the east, to the west, Marmart for the placeholder card, just having more bounce options, but still using the Juno for additional Soul Blast power, but also being able to power up our Vanguard. So on top of a Persona Blast and this card, you can hit for some pretty big numbers with your Vanguard alone and an additional drive and critical. Moving on now to the grade 1s. 4 copies of Wonderful Juan Rueboa. When this unit's placed on rearguard, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, return it to the hand. And on rearguard, when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Siana in its name attacks or is attacked, put this unit to the soul. Choose your Vanguard and gets plus 10,000. So another card that can build up soul power, but also set up the playstyle of bouncing cards, just like all the other units that we mentioned already before for your opponent's front row rearguards. There really should not go any turn where your opponent has any front row rearguards with all the support that we use that can bounce their cards. And for the other grade 1s, 4 copies of Cooling Heart Eureka. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted a rear guard. You can Soul Blast 1, choose one of the boosted rear guards, and return it to your hand. So just having bounce power for our own cards comes in handy, because then we can just reuse the cards like Rueboa for when placed, or our Theratheus, having all of the when placed abilities reset again after being added back to our hand. And then also the 2 copies of Rainy Jeweled Beast, Oparius, for being able to put back cards from the ride deck to make use of for additional guard or same unit power. And 4 copies of our Sentinel, which is Sturdy Sweets, Samil, just the newest one to go with all the trick-or-treat theme that we have from this set. For the Blitz orders, we run the 4 copies of Unseeable Exterior. Play this if you have 3 or more open rear guards, which is where the bouncing for our rear guards comes in handy to make use of with this Blitz order. Choose a unit being attacked, and it gets plus 15,000 till the end of that battle. If your opponent's Vanguard is placed by a card ability this turn, it gets 30,000 instead of 15. So an additional guard card to use for our once per turn Blitz order, but having the additional 30k makes it all the easier to protect our opponent against our opponent, since a lot of them could be using potential Vanguards that rode via a superior ride. And then lastly, the 1 copy of Gradius Cordell. I thought of using the other Regalis piece, I just didn't have it. That is the Blitz order, so you can replace Gradius if you have that one specific Blitz order Regalis piece to use. For the trigger lineup, running the 8 criticals, so 4 copies of Edwidge and 4 copies of Shocking Candy Oris, with our draw trigger being the 3 Barretwall. Once again, another great trigger choice to put into Soul, because then you're getting the additional shield power off of Siana instead of just the 10k power, with our heal triggers being the 4 copies of Love Thy Cat Lasan, and our over trigger being the Valnute, having the option choosing one of your rear guards to stand it, and then if you did not choose a card, draw a card, and choosing a card from your hand to call it to rear guard to give you the additional attack power with this over trigger especially. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. It's a really crazy deck profile that focuses on a different playstyle for the Lyrical Monasterio, disrupting all of your opponent's front row rear guards to gain additional card abilities. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.